We're going to go live now to Houston, Texas. These are the astronauts who arrived back on Earth, remember that? To great fanfare a couple of weeks ago. They're giving their first press conference now with their experience after being stuck at the International Space Station for 9 months. Let's listen into their stories.
This organization also is incorporated into an international organization that reaches beyond our own borders and brings in the world like no other organization on or off the planet. And I can tell you, it's simply a privilege to take part in all of that.
All right, thank you all for your opening remarks. We will go ahead and start taking questions now. If you're in the room, please raise your hand and we'll be sure to get a microphone over to you. If you're joining from our phone bridge, please press *1 when you're ready to enter the queue. And due to the high volume of questions today that we are receiving, we ask that media start with one question, and if we have time for a second round, we'll come back around to you. We'll start here in the first row with any questions. Mark, go ahead.
Mark Strassman, CBS News. Welcome back, everyone. Good to talk to all of you again. We're meeting in this auditorium for a reason. There are roughly 60 news outlets represented here, another 120 or so on the phone. Butch and Suni, have you been surprised by the continuing and intense interest in your space saga?
I would have to say yes, absolutely. You know, it's interesting. We go and launch. We knew it was a little bit unique, obviously, first time flying on a new spacecraft. So yeah, that was interesting. But you know, then life goes on up there. And I mentioned yesterday, you know, we pivoted and we are International Space Station crew members, and we're doing what all of our other friends in the astronaut office do, is go and work and train and do amazing science experiments up on the International Space Station. So, you know, I think you sort of get maybe a little bit tunnel visioned in what your job is. So, you know, do your job type of thing, right? And so you're not really aware of what else is going on down here. I hate to say that, you know, maybe the world doesn't revolve around us, but we revolve around the world, like something like that. But, you know, I think we were just really focused on what we were doing and trying to be part of the team and making sure we pulled our weight for the team. Of course, we heard some things, and I'll let, you know, obviously hand this off to Butch, heard some stuff from our friends and family that people were interested and wondering what was going on and concerned about our health and all that kind of stuff while we were up there. But, I mean, we were just part of the team, doing the job, filling in wherever we could, and then knowing that there's rotational flights and we will be coming home eventually on a rotational flight. So, no, I don't think we were aware to the degree. Pretty honored and humbled by the fact of when we came home, like, wow, there are a lot of people who are interested, very thankful, very amazed that we could hopefully be one positive element to bring people together.
Yeah, I don't know that there's much I could add to that. Just thankful for a nation that cares, a nation that prays, and the nation that is involved in the processes that are important to all of us.
Okay, we'll take our next question here in the room. Tom, go ahead.
Hi, Tom Costello with NBC News. Again, welcome back. Nice to see you all. Everybody's been thinking about you and worried about you. And I'm wondering, once you got your feet back on terra firma, what's the first thing both of you wanted to do? And were there any foods you were craving after 9+ months?
Go ahead, Sam.
Oh, yeah, I wanted to hug my husband and hug my dogs. And I'll say that in that order. But maybe not. No, I'm just joking. But of course, food, you know, something that's just like for home, for me, like something that is very, you know, reminds you of home. And my father was a vegetarian, so I had a good grilled cheese sandwich when I got home. So that reminded me of him.
Yeah, certainly embracing the family again, but also the opportunity, and I've already said it a couple of times, is just to say thank you to a nation that got involved in all of this. It makes it special, not just for us, but for I think our nation as a whole. So thank you.
All right, we'll take our next question right here in the front row.
Thank you. My question's for Suni. When you first got off the plane in Houston, we saw you hug Zena Cardman, and there was a nice exchange. If you could describe what happened and your gratitude towards the crew members who stepped aside so that you'd have seats coming back.
It's a great observation, so thank you very much. Zena's awesome, Stephanie Wilson, awesome. You know, when this whole thing was unraveling, like my heart went out because it's just sort of like, wow, you're waiting for your space flight, specifically Zena as her first flight. Like, wow, you know, it's a little bit rough to know that you're going to be moved to a different flight. But at the same time, you know, she is an awesome person, an awesome astronaut. She's going to get the opportunity. And, you know, this just wasn't the right flight for her to be on at that moment in time. And so I just gave her a big, huge hug. I told her that I used her Crew 9 shirt when we were up there for a photo op, but I packed it back up real nicely and put it in her stuff. And little joking aside, I just wanted to really tell her thank you for taking one for the team. And that's what our office is about, but she needed to have that acknowledgement.
Okay, we'll take one more question here in the room, and then we'll head to our phone bridge.
Hi, this question is for Sunita. I'm Jeff Saperstone, by the way, from NBC in Boston. A lot of people in your hometown in Needham, they've been watching this bit by bit, every moment. Yeah, everybody at the elementary school, there was a big watch party for you when you came home. What's your message to them? They've been so anxiously awaiting for you to return.
Oh, well, I'm back. First and foremost, we were always coming back, and I think people need to know that, and we're back to actually, share our story with so many people, because, it's like you all mentioned, it's slightly unique, and there's some lessons learned to it, and part of that is just resilience and being able to take a turn that was unexpected and make the best of it, and I think that is the biggest thing that I want to pass down, particularly to kids who think that their life should be the straight arrow to what you want to do, and you're just going to get there. Well, sometimes it takes some turns, some rights and some lefts, and you just keep focused on your goal, and other doors might be open for you. So I think that's the biggest message.
All right, we'll head to our phone bridge. Our first question there is from Marcia Dunn with the Associated Press.
Welcome back, everybody. Butch, this question is for you. Where do you lay the blame for your Starliner test flight? Clearly, Starliner was not ready to fly when it did. Whom do you hold responsible for everything that happened? Thanks.
That is a question that I cannot answer in a couple of comments, but I'll start with me. There were some issues, of course, that happened with Starliner. There were some issues, of course, that happened that prevented us from returning on Starliner. And I'll start with me. There were questions that I, as the commander of the spacecraft, that I should have asked, and I did not. At the time, I didn't know I needed to. And maybe you could call that hindsight, but I'll start and point the finger and I'll blame me. I could ask some questions, and the answers to those questions could have turned the tide. So blame, that's a term, I don't like that term, but certainly there's responsibility throughout all the programs, and certainly you can start with me. Responsibility with Boeing? Yes. Responsibility with NASA? Yes. All the way up and down the chain. We all are responsible. We all own this. And we are, in this business, trust. You cannot do this business without trust. You have to have ultimate trust. And for someone to step forward and these different organizations say, hey, I'm culpable for part of that issue, that goes a long way to maintaining trust. So we're not going to look back and say this happened or that happened and that person's or that issue or that entity's to blame. We're going to look forward and say, what are we going to use our lessons learned from this whole process and make sure that we are successful in the future. This is a tough business. The analogy about it, it's always a curvy road. It's never straight in this business. And minimizing those curves and being systems and processes in effect to prevent some of these curves is what we have to do as we leave low Earth orbit and go beyond to the moon and beyond that. So we're going to look forward, and that's the focus.
All right, our next question on the phone bridge is from Anthony with Spectrum News.
Hello, welcome back, everyone. It's nice seeing everyone return healthy and safe. I have a question for both you, Suni, and Butch. Given the opportunity, would you guys go up on Starliner again?
Yes, because we're going to rectify all the issues that we encountered.
Yeah.
We're going to fix them. We're going to make it work. Boeing's completely committed. NASA is completely committed, and with that, I get on in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I would agree. The spacecraft is really capable. There were a couple things that need to be fixed, like Butch mentioned, and folks are actively working on that. But it is a great spacecraft, and it has a lot of capability that other spacecraft don't have. And to see that thing successful and to be part of that program is an honor.
Our next question is from Jackie with the Times of London.
Yes, hello, and welcome back to Earth. I wondered about the surrounded Maroon's narrative, and to what extent were you aware of that narrative playing out around that down here, and has that been frustrating for you to have to address? Thank you.
I'm sorry, that was a little garbled. Oh, the stuck maroon narrative. We heard about that. Yeah, we heard about that.
Somebody mentioned that.
We've said this before. We had a plan, right? The plan went way off for what we had planned, but because we're in human spaceflight, we prepare for any number of contingencies because this is a curvy road. You never know where it's going to go. We prepare for this. So we, as Suni used the term, and it's a great term, we pivoted to all that training we did that we didn't think we needed to do, and a lot of people didn't think we needed to do, but we did it anyway, as we pivoted to this other preparation, and that is what makes human spaceflight, your human spaceflight program, special. It is hard, like I said, and preparing for any number of contingencies is what we do. It happened to be me and Suni involved in this, but it could have been any one of the astronauts. There's 40 or so of us eligible for assignment. It would have been any one of us that would have been in the same situation, or could have been in the same situation, and would have done the exact same thing that we did, because they would have gone prepared just like we did.
Yeah, and one addition to that, this is a lot bigger than, Butch and myself, like we've talked about already. This is the International Space Station program, and there's a lot of, wheels that are turning and wickets that we have to go through to get people up to the International Space Station to do all of the amazing science that we're doing up there. We recognize that, we know that, just like anybody else in the astronaut office, and we came, as Butch has mentioned before, prepared. And we are ready to do that pivot and be part of that bigger thing that's not just about us. Knowing that everybody on the ground, there's a huge team of people, like I quickly mentioned in my quick thank you, but there's a huge group of people who are looking at the whole program and understanding how and what was the best time and way to get us back home. We knew that, and we were ready to wait until that decision was made, and that was fine.
And I'll also add that we're grateful for people that, I don't think they were looking just at us when they make recommendations. We can do this, we can do that. They're looking what's best for the human spaceflight program, for our nation's goals. They're not looking just about Suni and Butch. And we appreciate those entities that do that and reach out and say, hey, we can do this, we can do that, we can do that. And NASA says, hey, we got a plan, we came prepared, here's what our plan is, and we think this is the best plan because it doesn't disrupt the flow of how these missions lay out. So, and that's the one we went with. Yeah.
All right, we'll take our next question here in the room. Andrea, go ahead.
Thank you guys for being available today. So your mission became unusually political. Given your experience, do you think other astronauts are going to get nervous that they could be caught in the middle of a political fight? And is there a point where, this starts to jeopardize safety of a mission when you start looking at all these politics that come into play? Thank you.
I think Nick's got some good insight on this.
So the way I'd like to answer that is that when we're up there operating in space, you don't feel the politics, you don't feel any of that. It's focused strictly on mission. And if I step back a little bit to the question before, Butch and Suni talk up here, they make it sound like, everybody figured out what they could do with us. The reality is they are highly skilled, very technically competent, and it took everything I had on every day to keep up with them as they're moving along. So they were more than just gap fillers on the station. They were productive, pushing the station mission forward. And Suni was the station commander, so she was calling the shots. So you get in that environment.
Okay, we'll leave that there. That just gives you an idea of some of the stories of those astronauts that were stuck on the International, some of the astronauts that were stuck on the International Space Station for 9 months. I love that response from Suni Williams, who said that she gave her husband and a dog a cuddle in that order. That was the thing that she was looking forward to the most, and that's indeed what she did in the end.